here, and welcome to Coming Soon Movie News with Niklsun. I'm your host, and on this show, every Wednesday and Friday, we'll be going over all of the day's movie news, as well as going over what it means for the production in general, such as casting decisions, trailer announcements, director announcements, things like that. So, without any further ado, let's get started with today's Hot Topics. So we just got a brand new trailer for the upcoming film 99 Homes, and this movie is going to be starring Andrew Garfield and Michael Shannon. So for comic book world out there, that's Spider-Man versus General Zod, which I actually think would be a really cool battle. But I'm sidetracking a little bit. This movie, I heard a lot about this, a lot of really good buzz about this movie coming off of Sundance, and I've been really intrigued by it, especially because of the cast. I mean, not only the aforementioned two actors, but also Laura Dern plays a very key role in the movie. But this is a very timely film. You know, we're starting to get a lot of these hard-hitting dramas and thrillers that are coming out that center around topics that are very relevant, that affect a lot of people. I mean, this one right now is dealing with the real estate environment and the fact that people out there have their homes foreclosed on. Now, I know that there's going to be arguments on both sides whether or not that should happen, regardless of the moral issues that would be arisen by having that argument. There are going to be people out there that say, well, if somebody can't pay for their home, they should be evicted. And I'm not even going to get into that topic. But what this trailer does to me is show what happens when somebody is pushed to the brink, that they need to choose to, or they need to follow down a path of desperation in order to try to get themselves out. And that in turn actually digs them into a deeper hole. And that's what this movie is really going to be playing up, because the general story, this is the actual log line of the movie. So when single father Dennis Nash, played by Andrew Garfield, is evicted from his home, his only chance is to win back, his only chance to win it back is to work for Rick Carver, played by Michael Shannon, the ruthless businessman who evicted him in the first place. It's a deal with the devil that may save his family home, but as Nash falls deeper into Carver's web, he finds his situation grows more brutal and dangerous than he ever imagined. Now, watching this trailer, if you haven't watched it, by the way, you can click the link in the description of this video. It's an incredible trailer. It doesn't give away too much, but it really sets the precedent and tone for the type of film that we're getting. And looking at the performances that we're getting, this movie could knock it out of the park. It could also be a melodramatic mess. Now, I do not believe the latter, only because the movie has already premiered at Sundance to rave reviews. Everybody out there is talking about this movie who has seen it. And they can't stop talking about good things about the film. Mostly about the performances. And then you even see, through the trailer, you can see kind of the progression of Andrew Garfield's character, which I think is going to be one of the more fascinating elements of the film. But even that, I mean, we get Michael Shannon in what on the surface appears to be a villainous role, which I have a feeling throughout the film we're actually going to see that he, in fact, is the character that we're getting. And not that there is going to be an underlying side to where he actually, like, I remember watching a movie a while ago called Law Abiding Citizen. And even though very different film from this, but it starts off with, spoilers if you haven't seen Law Abiding Citizen, which you should. It's actually a really entertaining film. But Gerard Butler plays a guy who used to be like in the CIA's like go-to boogeyman. And he's now out of that life. He's out of that world. And he's at home with his wife and his kid. And these guys break in, they rape and murder his wife, and they murder his daughter. And the one guy gets away because they don't have enough evidence, and also because the other guy, he doesn't get away. He gets a much shorter sentence, the guy who actually did everything. And so Gerard Butler's character has to then exact vengeance. And Jamie Foxx comes across as the lawyer who doesn't care about his family, doesn't care about his life or anything like that. He only cares about whether or not he's going to win or lose. And he chooses the deal because it's going to help his percentage of wins versus losses for his cases, regardless of what it does to his family. So the movie starts off with one guy presumably the good guy and the other guy presumably the villain or the antagonist of the film. And throughout the course of the movie, they actually switch spots. And Gerard Butler becomes the villain and Jamie Foxx becomes the good guy. So when I started watching the trailer and as I got through it, I started to think that might be precedent in the movie. It might actually be a subplot. I don't think that that's likely. It's just one of the things that came to my head. But that would be a really interesting turn of events, at least to me, to see that happen. Now, not a clear-cut villain and clear-cut bad guy, but you know, a villain that starts to show signs of a morality level, and you know, a good guy who shows that his morality level is disappearing, which I think we did kind of get signs of, at least Andrew Garfield's character losing or blurring that line, I should say. I am very interested in this movie, mainly because of that line at the end. And this is it. Only 1 in 100 are going to get on that ark, son. Every other poor soul is going to drown. And that is his mentality. He does not look at these people as people. He looks at them as statistics. He looks at them as numbers, and that makes his job easier. That's even why in the trailer he says, don't get emotionally attached to real estate. Because, and that was just talking about Andrew Garfield's fact that that was his childhood home, and he has an emotional connection to it. But that was his way of saying, don't get connected. These aren't people. You can't look at them as people. And I'm very fascinated to see that viewpoint on his character. I think this is going to be a very fascinating film. I think there's going to be a lot of turns in this movie. I think there's going to be a lot of surprises, which I'm really intrigued by. And we don't have that long to wait because the movie opens up in September. So let me know what you guys think about this film. Let me know what you think about the trailer and whether or not this movie really excites you, because this is one of those rare films that looks like it costs next to nothing, yet it looks so profound. It reminds me of Nightcrawler. This could be this year's Nightcrawler, just in terms of how visceral of a film it could be and how much of a reaction that it gets people. And so I'm really excited for this. It stars Andrew Garfield, Michael Shannon, and Laura Dern. The movie's opening up on September 25th. If you guys have any comments or questions or anything like that, drop a comment in the comment section below. But if we do get more information about this topic, then I will definitely update you guys on here. With this next movie, I'm going to come out right out front and say, I'm going to butcher the name of this movie. Now, this is how I believe that it is pronounced. And I believe it's pronounced Suffragette. A new trailer came out today about this film. It stars Carey Mulligan, Helena Bonham Carter, Brendan Gleeson, Meryl Streep, Ben Whishaw. It's about the feminist movement. Now, I need to start off by saying this. Watching this trailer, I can never imagine, and I know, like, it existed. It existed. I just, in the world that we live in now, I could never imagine a society functioning like this. You know, with, like, I mean, women not having the right to vote, not having the right to have regular jobs, you know, not having the rights to do a lot of these things. And watching the trailer and seeing, now I don't know if they're exaggerating anything. I don't believe that they are exaggerating, like the responses and stuff like that. But I mean, I just, to me, I could never believe that we ever, especially because it happened not that long ago in terms of our history, I could never believe that we had that closed off of a mindset. I mean, to say that, you know, it's going to turn anarchy and chaos, you know, it's going to be the end of the world. And it's like, I'm appalled that we actually had a society like that. I really am. And I mean, we're even still seeing slight shadows, if you will, of that lifestyle today. I mean, you look at, you know, the inequality of pay for women in industries, and you look at the fact that a woman could have the exact same job, the exact same responsibilities of a man, but she's paid like 70% of what the man would make. And I just think that's absolutely appalling. Although Jim Jeffries made a really, really great comment about that. He's an Australian comedian, so don't attack me for this. I'm just repeating what he said as a joke, but it was absolutely funny. He said that women do not deserve to make as much money as men. And here's why. Because men have to go out and buy all this extra shit for women that they don't have to buy. We have to kind of shower them with gifts. And so we need that extra money to go and pay for all this crap. And so I thought I was actually really funny. But he was very serious in the regard that, you know, it's garbage that this used to happen. And it happened for such a long period of time, like hundreds and hundreds, thousands of years. And now, like, it's only been the past 100 years that we're getting out of it. And looking at what this trailer shows us, it does get a little melodramatic. But, I mean, listen to this line. We break windows. We burn things, because war is the only language men listen to, which I think at that time, especially with men in power, even today with men in power, that is really the only language that they listen to. They only listen to somebody if they are threatening them. That is really the only time that they will listen to anybody, is when they are being threatened. And so I completely agree with the steps that they had to go to get their message told. Now, that being said, this was in a completely different time. And this was for equality for all people. Not like, because a lot of people out there are going to make the connection that, well, terrorists are doing the same thing. No, they're not. They're trying to take everybody else down by making them out to be the greater people, you know, the people who are fighting for God and or whatever mission they believe that they are fighting for. This is completely different. This is the equality of every single human being on the planet, starting with gender. And then, you know, after that, it went with race and creed and all that kind of stuff. So this, to me, like, here's the plot line of the movie. Suffragette is a thrilling drama that tracks the story of the foot soldiers of the early feminist movement, women who were forced underground to pursue a dangerous game of cat and mouse with an increasingly brutal state. These women were not primarily from the genteel educated classes. They were working women who had seen peaceful protest achieve nothing. Radicalized and turning to violence as the only route to change, they were willing to lose everything in their fight for equality, their jobs, their homes, their children, and their lives. Maud was one such foot soldier. The story of her fight for dignity is gripping and as visceral as any thriller. It is also heartbreaking and inspirational. Now, this, again, is the type of movie that I don't think could have been made a couple of years ago. Sorry, my cat was in the way. This is not the type of movie that could have been made 15, 20 years ago. This is the type of movie that is perfectly primed to come out in this age of movies, because we are now in a point where a lot of people are aware of a lot of the differences a lot of the differences and a lot of the inequalities that are happening, because I think for a long time it did kind of go under the radar. I don't think it, or at least it wasn't widespread enough to the point where it's now an urgent matter that actually needs taking care of. And so this is, again, a very timely movie, I think, that's coming out. And the subject matter of this movie definitely needs to be told. The amazing cast that they've put together for this film, I think, is going to nail it home. I mean, anytime you put Meryl Streep in a movie, she's going to be nominated for an Oscar. So, I mean, just looking at this cast, along with Carey Mulligan, who is the one who is playing the aforementioned Maud. You have Helena Bonham Carter, who always gives it her A game. She is a world-class talent. You have Brendan Gleeson, who looks to be a great antagonist, but again, blurring that line between actually being a villain and just being somebody of that time, and just understanding the world that they lived in and how change was inevitable, but that they were not going about it the way that they should have been. It's just they have been kind of pushed up into a corner, and they had no other recourse. Again, going back to the 99 Homes trailer, leading into desperation. And again, this is the type of film that needs to be seen. I don't think this is going to be a big blockbuster film, but I do think this movie is going to be up for a lot of awards contention. I am very excited to see this movie. And again, looking at the trailer, this is the type of movie that could not have been made until now. I mean, just having the message told the way that it needed to be told and having it resonate the way that it needs to be resonated with an audience. I think this is the perfect time for this movie to come out. It opens on October 23rd, with the amazing cast. I mean, I'm on board with this. If you guys haven't watched the trailer, by the way, you can click the link in the video, or sorry, in the description of this video below. But damn, I mean, we're getting a lot of really quality films coming out this year, and I'm really excited to be able to see a lot of these things, especially 99 Homes and Suffragette. I mean, and I'm butchering that name. I know that I am. I know that I'm calling it something that it's not. There's just no phonetic spelling for that, and I've never heard that word before, and that might just be my own ignorance. But yeah, the movie's going to be opening up on October 23rd. Let me know what you guys think about this trailer in the comment section below. Were you moved by it? Are you excited to see this? Do you think this is a story that needs to be told and needs to be told right now? Let me know in the comment section, and when we do get more information about this topic, then I will definitely update you guys on here. Sooner or later, The Rock's going to rub everybody the wrong way. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The Rock himself, Dwayne Johnson, is going to be starring in a remake of Big Trouble in Little China. Now, when this news came out, I started reading the comment sections of a lot of these websites, and oh my God, were there a lot of people complaining about this. First off, what is the problem with remaking this movie? Now, I got to start off by saying this. My issue with certain remakes is only if there is nothing different that can be achieved by remaking the film. The Godfather, for instance. There is nothing different that you can achieve from that movie because it was already a period piece. The movie came out in the 70s and it was already set in, like, I'm going to get hell for this. I think it was set in the 20s, but it might have been the 30s. Or sorry, I think it was in the 40s. Oh, God, it's been a long time since I've seen that movie. But it was already a period piece. That's my point. It was already set in that time, and it was executed perfectly. there is nothing that you could do to make that movie better or to make it different. It would just come off as just a not as good version of that film. Other movies can benefit from updated special effects, updated choreography, updated lighting and camera techniques, and even updated directing. I don't think that Big Trouble in Little China can be updated by directing. I think John Carpenter knocked it out of the park in that regard. I think that Kurt Russell knocked it out of the park as Jack Burton. I don't think that you can find anybody else better to portray that character, but you can get them portrayed differently. You can get them portrayed because he was like the pre-John McClane. He was the everyman who was like the machismo action hero, but he was the everyman and he thought he was a badass, but he always screwed up. He was the sidekick. He was the leading man, but he was actually the sidekick to, I think it was Wang. And now that's going to be a big question, is who's going to play Wang? But more importantly, with Dwayne Johnson being able, I personally believe he's not going to have any problem whatsoever achieving the greatness of the role of Jack Burton. Lines like that, or, like as the great Jack Burton always said, who? Jack Burton, me. With his bravado and with his comedic timing and just his stature, he can easily lay down this character. This character is, I don't think, a problem at all. The biggest issue with this movie is going to be finding a director. There's no other question. It's you got the writing team of Ashley Miller and Zach Stentz, who not only wrote Thor and X-Men First Class, they're currently writing, from my understanding at least, and correct me if I'm wrong, they are currently writing the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers reboot, and there's a couple of other projects that they're currently involved in as well. So these guys know their properties, they know their genre work, and so coming into a movie like this, I think they're going to be able to have that blend of comedy, of action, and of horror, and then be able to easily meld them together. But you really need a director to steer that ship. Now, I have one director in mind. I actually have three, but I have one who I hope would take it, because it looks like his sensibilities would be perfect for this movie. My number one choice, and I think this is going to be a lot of people's choice, but my number one choice is Edgar Wright, because you look at a movie like Shaun of the Dead. You look at a movie like The World's End. He has the ability to combine action and horror and comedy in a beautiful blend where it doesn't seem like any of them are misplaced. So I think that he would be the absolute perfect guy to be in charge of this. The only problem is that I don't think, especially coming off of working on Ant-Man for so long, I think he's going to want to steer clear of either franchise or remake properties. I think he's going to want to do his own thing, although I would love to see his take on it. My other two choices would be James Gunn, but James Gunn's unfortunately tied up with Marvel. Well, not unfortunately, but in regards to this project, he's unfortunately tied up with Marvel right now with Guardians of the Galaxy 2, most likely Guardians of the Galaxy 3, or even another property somewhere down the line dealing with them. My third choice is, I think, somebody who might actually take the gig. And it's a 50-50 shot as to whether or not people would agree with it. But I think Robert Rodriguez would also be a really great fit for a movie like this. My only condition with Rodriguez doing it, though, is that he can't do his style of CGI. Because, well, actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, it would add to the campiness of it. It would at least bring that out. Not having, like, ILM do the special effects, but his, I think it's, there's Troublemaker Studios, but I'm not sure what his special effects company is called. I can't remember off the top of my head. But, I mean, just imagine, like, these are three very eclectic directors. James Gunn kind of is out of the running because of his Marvel contract, but still his version, like, he did Slither, he did Super. I mean, the guy, and obviously Guardians of the Galaxy, but he has such a visual, or such a way of telling a story and having the dialogue come across with telling the story, but also being unique. And, you know, I'd really be intrigued to see his, but I think out of all of them, Edgar Wright is by far the clear choice. Now, let me know in the comment section if you guys have any other choices for this. But, I mean, looking at what they can do with the character of Lo Pan and where they'd be able to take the fight sequences and all the things that they could do, this movie is prime for a remake. And one of the only reasons that people love it so much is because of how campy it is and because of how cheesy it is. But even if they come out with a remake, and it happens to be not that great, we still have the original. Shh, don't tell anybody. I mean, that's what I don't get about people freaking out about all these. The only time, like I said, the only time that I ever have a problem with a remake is if they're going to remake a movie that it's completely pointless. There is nothing else that they could do. And that, to me, is not because, you know, it's going to be wasted talent or anything like that. It's because that for that production company, removes another film that could be put into production, takes budget away from other movies that could be given a higher budget, only because they feel that let's just have another stab at this movie. And no, I mean, if it hasn't worked once, twice, 3 times before, don't do it again. I mean, don't just think, well, maybe now is the right time. Unless it's a property that has an amazingly cool sounding storyline nobody's just been able to crack yet. You know, like I look at Congo. You know, the Michael Crichton book that was made into a movie in, I think, 95, 96, with Ernie Hudson and Laura Linney. That is a movie, or sorry, that book is a book that I think needs to be made into a film. The movie that we got was not, I mean, it was similar, but it was very different. I mean, Amy the gorilla didn't have the little talkie thing, and they just did that. You know why they did that? I think I actually mentioned this on a show before. But they did that because the studio execs felt that the audiences would be, they would not take too kindly to subtitles. And so they created this new thing where the gorilla had this, it would do sign language, and this machine would articulate those into words. And not on top of that, I mean, the gorilla looked awful. With today's special effects, what you can do with either mocap or even, you know, just, actually, no, it would kind of have to be mocap for the interactions that you would need. But especially, you know, the silver gorillas, everything about that storyline just sounds so cool, about this lost civilization, this lost, you know, these lost warriors and protectors of this environment, and you know, modern society encroaching on it. And it's just a great read. And that's a book or a movie that's primed for a remake, because you can tell the story better. Even though the first time it wasn't done very well, there's a lot of hope for it. And I think that they could do a lot with it. Although Big Trouble in Little China, I feel, is a movie that, yes, it was done really well. It's a product of its time, 100%. But I do think that it can be updated with the right people in the spot. And having The Rock come on board, you can't get a better star for the movie. I mean, he is going to bring Jack Burton to life again. He is. We know that he can do it. The biggest question is there a director out there that's capable of putting all the pieces around him to make that movie? And I personally think that Edgar Wright would be the guy to do it. But if he wouldn't do it, I would be very happy with Robert Rodriguez signing on, or even a surprise James Gunn announcement. You know, I mean, that would be incredible. At least to me, that would be incredible. But, yeah, what do you guys think about this? I mean, there's no word on when production would start or when the movie might be released. I mean, Dwayne Johnson's got a pretty stacked schedule coming up. I mean, he's going to be shooting Fast and Furious 8 soon. There is talks of a Hobbs spinoff. He's not going to be doing a sequel to San Andreas or Hercules. Well, Hercules just because it didn't make enough money. San Andreas because they can't do any more with that. And he's got a couple other projects lined up. So there's no telling. He's got that, what is it, that basically Guardians of the Galaxy in space, what's Alpha Sector 9 or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it's called. But he's got a lot of projects in the works. So expect more information on this movie to come out before the end of the year. But I wouldn't expect for this movie to even start production until, at the earliest, end of next year. I'd say probably 2017 is when it's going to start production. So we might get it sometime in the spring or summer of 2018. So we're still several years out from this movie, unless this guy's put on the fast track, which I don't see that happening. I don't see this being a big priority for the studio. So, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Are you excited for this? Do you think this is a mistake? What are your guys' opinions on this? Let me know in the comment section below. And when we do get more information about this topic, then I will definitely update you guys on here. That'll about do it for me on Coming Soon Movie News with Niklsun. Thank you so much for watching. You guys have been a great audience. Go ahead and click that subscribe button there in the bottom corner. You can get updates whenever a new video is posted. You can also follow me on Twitter or Instagram at Niklsun, Niklsun, for all of your movie updates. And go ahead and give our Facebook page a like at facebook.com/movie news with Niklsun. If you ever have a topic or a question you'd like to have talked about on the show, you can go ahead and put a comment in the comment section, or you can email me at movienewswithniklsun@gmail.com. And on every Friday episode, I'll try to get to as many as I can. I've already actually got a few lined up for this week, so put in your questions now, and hopefully they'll be able to get on Friday's episode. But until next time, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.